Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is Murder Mystery Monday. In these videos, I talk about one backlist book from my own collection that I want to recommend to you. And during the month of October, I am combining it with Victober and recommending Victorian era historical mysteries. This has been really fun. I love the Victorian era in a historical mystery. And so for today, I want to recommend Mrs. Hudson and the Malabar Rose by Martin Davies. Now, this one is actually the second one in the series, but it's the only one in my collection, so this is the one that we are going with. A mystery featuring Mrs. Hudson, world-class detective, and her employer, Sherlock Holmes. So this is one thing that I love about this series, about this book, is that Mrs. Hudson is the main character. And the author is playing around with the idea that Mrs. Hudson is actually the better detective. And so it's just really fun to have these familiar characters, but to have them turned on their head, as it were. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I really enjoy this series as a whole. In the annals of crime-fighting history, one man has come to personify the brilliance of logical deduction, ingenious observation skills, and an unfaltering sense of the elementary. That man is Sherlock Holmes. Then again, a little help never hurt anyone. Londoners are braving the December snows to see two great events scheduled for the same day: the unveiling of the Malabar Rose, a rare and remarkable ruby, and the first appearance in Britain of the great Salmanazar. A magician and illusionist extraordinaire, Salmanazar is the talk of Europe, especially since whenever he appears abroad, daring thefts of famous jewelry coincide with his performances. But when a special representative of the Home Secretary calls at Baker Street to beg Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson to help guard the Malabar Rose, Mrs. Hudson suspects that the great Salmanazar is about to use smoke and mirrors on Scotland Yard. When the Malabar Rose vanishes under the most baffling of circumstances, larceny is clearly afoot, and the formidable Mrs. Hudson is called upon to give a lesson in criminal deduction to that most logical of minds, the great Sherlock Holmes. So I just love this idea. I just think it's awesome. Okay, this was published in 2005, and I will read to you from chapter 1, Snow Falls on Baker Street. "News!" the newsboy cried. "All the news! Famous gem arrives in London. Guard of honor for priceless stone." When I heard his shout that night, the snow was already falling, and the carriages had turned the cobbled streets to slush. It was hardly the night for a young girl to dream of adventure. At first, I scarcely heard the cry over the clattering hooves and grumbling wheels, and if I had any thoughts at all as I battled homewards that night, they were of dry clothes and dry feet and a warm fire. But then the boy's shout reached me again, this time a little louder and a little clearer. "Indian jewel is gift to nation, priceless stone in safe hands." I knew nothing then of priceless stones, still less of the fierce and fiery passions they can inspire. But even on that ill-tempered December evening, the words kindled a little spark inside me, and I paused in my progress to look around. All right, so for today's recommendation, we have Mrs. Hudson and the Malabar Rose by Martin Davies. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read anything by Martin Davies. He's someone that I don't hear talked about really at all on BookTube, so I'm really curious to know if you've heard of him and what you thought. And I will see you for another video soon. Bye.